Hello YouTube. So I do a quick video here. I with my Raspberry Pi, I was having problems trying to connect it wirelessly to my internet. And let me explain. I have, well, in this case, I have two routers. I have one in the house and I have one in the GMRS shack slash YouTube studio. Well, I could connect my Raspberry Pi to my house router without any problems. I plug it in, wait, it would announce the IP address over the radio, worked like a champ, no problems. As soon as I unplugged it and went into the GMRS shack and plugged it in to connect to the wireless, it would not work. It would not get an IP address. No internet whatsoever would be connected to my Raspberry Pi. Now, mind you, in the GMRS shack, I have laptops that work on wireless. I did a YouTube live stream there from the GMRS shack. I got TVs that have built-in wireless so that you can, watch YouTube or do whatever. All that worked just fine. But I could not get this Raspberry Pi to connect wirelessly. Now, also, I like to point out, I have the exact same router model numbers in the house and in the GMRS shack. They're identical. They're the same model number. So I'm like, well, okay, no big deal. I must have a setting wrong in the GMRS shack for some reason. So I went through the menus and I logged into my router and I went through the menus and I'm going through everything and I cannot find it. It's baffling me. Well, what the heck is going on? Then finally, I found it. The light bulb came on. Now, maybe perhaps this has nothing to do with why it didn't work. Maybe perhaps because I reflashed the firmware on the router, it kind of reset everything. I don't know. I just know that this solved my problem and life is good for the time being. So here's what I want to show you. Now, if you look at this, I have my router setup screen here on the screen here. Now, if you look at this, let me get my fancy pen. Now, maybe you've noticed it. Maybe you have not. I didn't notice it at first. I am missing something from this menu. What am I missing? Well, I'll give you a hint. Look right in here. Right in here under the security options. This is where you can select what type of encryption you want your Wi-Fi password to be. Okay, I am missing two things there. I am missing none, which means no encryption, and I'm missing WEP. Now, WEP is an older style encryption that some experts say, well, that's not as secure as the ones you see in your screen now. Okay, I don't care. I'm talking about a Raspberry Pi hook into a network. But I'm missing those other ones. But they're the same router. How can that be? How can I be missing my options on that? Now, let me show you. This is interesting. See, I'm missing that. Now, let me go ahead and I'm going to go to the screen here. Let me go ahead and clear this. Okay. Let's go to the way it's supposed to be. Okay. Click on that. Look at that. It's there. I have it there. Why is it missing? I figured it out. Look at the firmware. Okay. Let me get my fancy pen here. Look at the firmware version right here. You see that number right there? Okay, make a note of that. Let's go back to the other screen. Now look at the firmware version. Okay? It's different. Oh, that's no problem. Hey, I got an idea. I'll look on the internet. I'll go to the internet. I will type in this firmware version to download right here. I'll type in exactly v1. I'll type it in there and I will download it, and then I will upload it, my firmware, which you can do with routers. You can update the firmware to the other router, and life will be good. Oh, if life was that simple. I did that, and it wouldn't let me update my router. It says incompatible version or something, or incompatible firmware, some message. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? They're the same model of router. Well, here's what's going on. Let's clear this. Let's go back to the other screen. If you look at this very carefully, right here, at this firmware version, at the very end of it, it's CH. I bought this router off eBay years ago, used. Well, CH stands for the internet provider that this router used to go to back in the day. What I mean is, back, and maybe they still do it in other parts, of the world. I don't know. But back in the day, when you got your internet, you could rent out the router and the modem. You can, they come out and install it and hook it all up for you, and then off they would go. The CH at the end of that firmware means this firmware is meant for the cable companies' equipment that they used, that people rent out. So they took out, for whatever reason, they took out the WEP. I'm suspecting probably because it's not as strong as of a encryption. So I thought, well, could that be my problem? Well, obviously I tried to upload the other firmware. I could not, it wouldn't take it, because it's saying, oh, no. You can't do that because, we're different here. Even though it's the same model number, we're different. So after some digging, I found out that there is a firmware version that I can use to remove that, so I can go back to the firmware version I want. Okay? And to do that, there is a website that has custom and modified firmware. Let me go ahead and get that on the screen here. And it's called dd-wrt.com. They have a lot of router models on this website. This is custom firmware people have made. And some of them have really cool functions. I almost didn't flash my I almost kept it on the on this firmware, because they had some really cool options in it that the stock firmware didn't have. But I wanted to keep everything the same, so I didn't do that. So to solve for my problem, what I had to do, I had to go to the website, get this other firmware that kind of removed the name or the usage of it being the internet company's router. So I uploaded that firmware, which was, like I said, kind of a neat firmware. It had a lot more options. I uploaded it. Then I went back to the firmware I wanted, and let's go back to that again. After I uploaded the modified firmware to get rid of the provider's firmware version, I went back and uploaded this firmware back on that router so I could get what you see now, my WEP back and my none back. That's how I fixed my internet. Now, maybe perhaps, I don't know if other people have tried connecting their Raspberry Pi to different types of encryptions. I don't know. I just know this would solve my problem. Maybe there was something else wrong with the router, and by reflashing the firmware, it took the glitch out. I really don't know. I just know I flashed it so I'd have these options back, mainly the WEP option, and voila, it works like a champ. I can move my Raspberry Pi from the house to the shack, no problem. Life is good. Like I said, maybe it's just my particular setup or something. I'm not sure. But my point is, if you are missing this option and you cannot get your router, your Raspberry Pi online wirelessly, maybe perhaps you need to have that WEP, and you might have to roll back your firmware depending on how new your router is, if you can go back that far. I don't know if newer routers automatically take out that WEP or not. I find it interesting that the internet provider's router, they took that away. Like I said, I'm suspecting because that WEP is not as strong as encryption, and to avoid problems on their end, they probably did that, would be my guess. But if I go back to that, you can see that they totally removed that out of there. So you can't do it. You can't select that option. So that's how I found it. This website here, like I said, has a lot of router models on here. A lot of cool, really cool. Some of the, and I was kind of going through this. Some of them you can adjust the watt or the output, how much output the router has. Some of the routers have that option. I don't know if mine did or not when I did the custom firmware. I didn't really pay attention to it. I quickly got to what I needed to do and I just did another firmware update. I might just, you know what, honestly, I might just go buy another router just like I got now on eBay, since I know how to undo it, and just to play with that custom firmware, because it's pretty cool. But at any rate, I just want to make that video. Hopefully this will help people. If anyone out there's having some problems with their connecting Wi-Fi with their Raspberry Pi, check this. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you, and have a good day.